Okay, so this is continuation on the use of soil as a spiritual component in your life. The first video was getting a bit too long and it gets difficult for us to upload them depending on the size of the video. So let's continue. Now, there are people who use soil in a very different way and they can negatively impact your life. When we talk about a spiritual husband, when we talk about a spirit of somebody that has died, deceased, passed on, and has not rested, and sometimes we do not understand how these worlds come in together. There are people who, after burying a certain uncle of yours, they will go. You have done the burial on a Saturday. They will go on the Saturday evening and go collect the soil from the grave, and they will go and mix their own concoctions, and then they will bewitch a certain family member, or they will bring back the spirit of that person before it can go and ascend into the other realms, and they will alter their fate. And then you will have people saying, "Bathi umalume akalalanga kahle." What would have happened? That is exactly what would have happened. Sometimes you would have a young woman, a young man being tormented sexually by the spirit of somebody that is familiar or somebody that was coming from the neighborhood. They will take a certain person whose future was not even bright. They were not promising. They were, those people in the community where people normally will give you advice, don't be like that man or don't be like that woman. Then they would say maybe a spirit of a woman that, I don't know, what are bad traits, and it's very hard to be judgmental as a healer because everything has a cause, right? So let's say this woman had a lot of children, slept around, is a drunkard, had just, I don't know how you would qualify a bad person in a community. Then they will take the character of that person and impose it on a promising young man that wants to get married, wants to have a business, wants to be a chartered accountant, and they would impose that spirit as a sexual partner, and they will bind the life of the young man with the life of this deceased woman who never had a promising future. And then they would say you have a spiritual husband or a spiritual wife, or vice versa, use. But then they will tie the sordid, the bad story of that person to the new person who is upcoming and wanting to have a bright future. And therefore we would say there's a spirit of a person in your neighborhood that is walking around with you. Who is Elizabeth? And you find, no, Elizabeth was a certain mama from, but the witches of your place would have done that. Which then brings me to the next point. Can soil be affecting you negatively because of the region that you are in? So, every place has a spiritual identity, that one we have spoken about. There are blessings of certain places, there are curses of certain places because of the land. Right? For this part, I wanted for us to go and work on the scripture, Second Chronicles, chapter 7, verse 14. I wanted to rattle off by head because I used to be a Bible puncher. I call them Bible punchers. Yeah, a person who used to understand scripture a lot. So in that scripture, there's a part where it says, "If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin and will heal their land." And will heal their land. So, can the land that you come from be sick? Can it be sick? Yes, it can be. And this is why you would hear people saying, do not marry a young woman from Atteridgeville, because they are drunkards and they like a nice time, and they, you see, that is why there are certain places that are characterized by certain things. You see that people, tsotis, I normally like to laugh and say, hey, mokopane, everybody in mokopane is a tsotsi. It's a character of that place. It's the sickness of that land. Obviously these are stereotypes, but there are facts in stereotypes, right? Check what I did there. Facts and stereotypes. So there is some truth in every myth, right? So there are places where we would know, no, there a certain character thrives, certain, and people like to do that with universities as well. You understand, ne? Like when you've studied from Rhodes, there's the character of the soil from Rhodes than when you studied from UFS or from TUT or from wherever. So each and every place has its own sickness and it has its own character. So if my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves, so obviously you see there's an assignment, you need to do this. Be humble, come to God, hear his name, hear his word, and then you will be saved from his from the wickedness and the sins of your land, and your land shall ultimately get healed. That's the sentence I want. So there are places where you would find unemployment is rife, the land is sick. When the land is sick, there are spiritual beings, there are witches, there are principalities, there are legions, right? Legions is a plethora of angels, but yeah, whether good or bad. Then there are certain legions of that area that will want, or out of this place a certain thing will happen. It's a spiritual identity of that place, and when you don't know about it, it will always be a problem of your life. Now, if I am born in a place where it is poverty stricken, it is sickness stricken, and everybody, there's a high mortality rate. When people reach 42, their life expectancy just gets to drop and drop and drop, and ultimately we are all going to die. And I want to rid myself of the character of the land where I come in, of the region of the land where, I want to rid myself of the circumstances caused by the region that I come from. What do I do? I want to move to Germany. Today I'm on a Germany tip. I want to move to Germany because it promises better prospects of my life. And I pray and I pasha and I do everything. And I don't realize that the land is a problem. The soil that I'm born in, on top of, is a problem. The soil that I go and pasha to my ancestors at the grave, it's a problem because the entire region has a problem. So I want to take myself out and go and live in Germany. What do? I talk to the soil. I take particles of a soil in your own yard. In your own yard. Don't go speak to Maki's soil, right? Then you have your soil. Ne? You have your soil. This teaching I had to learn. I was taught by somebody. It's not my teaching, because at that moment I was getting frustrated, or I could not move from one place to the other, no matter what I did, no matter how ancestrally woke I was. I cried and I said, Tebeng Majens, what are you doing? And they directed me to this teaching that I saw. And the lady there took the soil and put talcum powder in it. She says you can use talcum powder or coarse salt, and then you hold the soil. I'm wearing white. Why did I choose to wear white when I want to talk about soil? And I'm very clumsy as an individual. Normally, the soil can just come from there, from outside there, and come on to me. Not understanding like that my way, Ed. It just jumped in front of me. But anyway, so you have the soil. You hold the soil, you put coarse salt in it, and you say, every principality, every angel, every legion, every group of, well, the minute you say legion is a group, every legion that is against my moving out of this place and going to thrive in wherever I want to become, right? Saying you are moving from Gabon, you want to go to Germany. Let's continue with that. So everything that is against me moving from this place, whatever principality that is still holding on to my fate, I demand and I command that you release me. Then you speak to the soil to say, soil, I am a nurse in Gabon. I want to go and have a job in Germany. You are going to allow me. You are going to connect with the angels and the good principalities of the country, of the place that I want to be in, and I will go and join the soil of that land, right? And then you put it right back where you got it. You would have gotten it from the ground and not from the bowl. The ball, ball, which the other one just means a place where you keep your urine. So anyway, there are many teachings on the effects of urine. Go Google them; they work very well as well. But today is about soil. So you do that, right? And then you wait. You wait for your life to change. If it does not change, you go back again. Don't fret. My people, don't fret. Now I sound like my people who are called by my name. Family, don't fret. When you are fretting, you are sending conflicting energies, conflicting commands to what it is that you want. So people panic. Now, when you are wanting a transfer, you are a nurse, you are in Mpumalanga, your husband and your children are in Pretoria. You want to move and it has not been happening. You speak to the legions and the regions of that area to release you and put you where you want to be. You have been applying for a visa to go somewhere and it gets rejected. You do the very same thing. You are applying for a permit from your country, Lesotho, to be permanently working in South Africa. You are working, but your permit issues are drawing you back to your country. Then you go and patla and tell your ancestors that, ancestors, I'm permanently now placed in South Africa and I want to leave. I want a spiritual visa from you that I go and work permanently in a different land. Bless me. Right? So you don't just apply. And when your issues of your permit don't come through, you don't know what to do, and you've been waiting in limbo, and now your job is in danger. You go and you talk to the land where of your forefathers, because now they would be wanting you and saying, where is the child? Right. Now, let's deal with witchcraft quickly. There are certain rituals that are bad for you. Earlier on, we spoke about a ritual where a person would go and take soil from a deceased grave, and then they will do a continuation of the person's spirit into your life, and now you are living a dual life. You have the tenacity, but then you have the conflict, you have the conflict of another spirit coming into your life, right? Then there are certain people who will say, your lover has passed on. And when your lover has passed on, this person's spirit is still clinging on to you, which is a very serious possibility. And you need to rid yourself of such energy, because now the Johns and the Jacks and the James and the Jeremiahs of this world are no longer finding you attractive. So you need to go and get soil from Jimmy's grave, who is a past lover of yours, and bath with it. That is the worst thing you can ever do to your own spirituality, to your own identity, because you are saying, I'm alive, but I'm going to take and assume the shade, literally, muriti, siriti, the integrity, the what? The aura, I'm looking for word aura. I'm going to take the aura of another person that is late, and he and I used to have an agreement in this life. Now that they have passed on, I'm going to take their soil and bath. So I'm continuing on agreement that no longer exists. Same thing that people will do. There is a twin that has passed on, and when a twin has passed on, they will say, go and take the soil from the passed on twin and bathe the other twin. The next thing, the child is not sleeping at night, and you are seeing that this person is constantly being called to death because the twin wants you where you are. Death is always a very powerful suction, and that's what we don't understand as people. So if you're trying to do anything with a person that has died, their power is always very, very, it's like a hoover, like that suction is extra powerful. So your will always be compromised against the suction of death. So do not go and bath with anybody's soil from anybody's grave for no reason, and not even unless, just refuse to do so. Now, with that said, there are people who are fighting for another person's inheritance. This teaching is long. My dad died. When my dad died, my dad left me and my mom and my brothers to go be with a girlfriend. And against the story, I find that the girlfriend might have bewitched my dad, and now we are fighting for the estate of my father. What do I do? And I want it to be very just upon us and our family, because we are struggling. You see, we do not have food, but the girlfriend there has all the luck and they're doing everything. So what do we do? There you go and speak to the soil at the grave of your father, and you are going to take the soil, because chances are, most of the assumption that we like to carry is that the girlfriend is always in the wrong, right? Please don't go and assume. Find the truth, because now poor girlfriends who our daddies left our mothers for are always in the dark because of these things. So I'm not saying their girlfriends are wrong. I'm saying please find spiritual facts when you want to delve into anything of spiritual significance. So in that case, let's say indeed it is the truth that your husband, the father, was somehow duped, and they now are somehow spiritually aligned to the other woman, and you feel that, but daddy, you left us, or daddy left us because something had, big cloud has gotten over him and he left us. There you can go to the grave and take the soil. Somebody will ask me, but Coco, there's a tombstone, what do I do? There is soil around the tombstone. This tombstone is exactly installed right adjacent to the soil. Get the soil. Get the soil. Ooh, the questions that we get here in spiritual world are extremely entertaining. I normally think of myself as a very great person who can explain something, né? And then you suddenly get a question and you're like, yeah, like I went there to explain this one, and now there's a question coming right underneath the carpet, like a very weird question, and you'll enjoy the vast capacity of a human brain. So what do? You take the soil there, right? And this is when something has been done against the other person, but a person needs to have a spiritual fact. Please let me not be quoted. I will deny if I'm misquoted. So you take the soil from the grave, you go find more soil from a crossroad. Because a crossroad is a spiritual court. I will get to that. Find from a crossroad. And then you will mix the two soils. So this is a soil from a grave, and maybe it's because it's hard, and I don't know why I'm deciding this one is soil from the grave. Soil from the grave. This one is soil from the crossroad. Don't say to me, go. So if the crossroad has a tar, what do I do? Please don't say that. Don't say that. Find soil from a crossroad where all four corners, north, south, west, and east, are connecting, because you do not know where the enemy comes from in all of the world. Now you are then you are now in a spiritual court fighting for the right of the person who is deceased, and then not knowing how they got to be deceased. Now you are saying, from all corners of the world, can this person and this person's spirit, right, can they clash? Can they go and fight it off? And can spirit go judge fairly? You are also not assuming what the outcome should be. You are saying spirit, in its all just, in its own talk, in its all knowing of what is fair and what is not, to judge that person and whoever that could have made this person fall into a trap. And then you say, if Ntatemogolo, if Papa, if Mama, you are right in this thing, and you do not know, and you don't have any of your ancestors to fight for you, let the spiritual court, let all the angels that are fair all over, north, east, west, south, to fight for you. And then after that, you are going to leave both of the soils right there again, where you found the soil in the crossroad. You can do the same crossroad or another crossroad. So obviously, for the sake of your comfort, you can go do this thing very, very early in the morning or late, where people don't see you picking up soil and talking to soil, because you're going to look very weird. I'm kidding, guys. Take these things very seriously. Take these things very seriously. But you still need to go back into the same community and you're like, performing a dialogue. Did you see them yesterday doing a prescription of spirit? So your reputation is outdated. Belangrak. When you yourself have too many enemies, you have been to the river, you have been everywhere, you have prayed, you have patlat, and you are now at the end of your tether. You can't take it anymore. You don't know who your enemies are. Every day, every time you are fighting, you go to the crossroad and you take soil from a crossroad. Ne? You take it home. Take that home. And you are going to bath with it and remove. It's what you say. It is in spirit. It is always what you say. It is always what you say that gives you an outcome. Then you are going to be saying, wherever my enemies are, however they are converging about my life, I want to get rid of them. May they get rid of my own energy, my own aura. May they go and fight amongst themselves. Why? Because we live in places where people do spiritual bets. We live in a street where the entire street are witches, and they will say, Mama Bulo's child must never thrive in life. And then I, as a witch, get my things from my home, and they, as the witches, they get their things from their homes, and we combine them. Do you see already the legions of that area are already against the Mama Bulo child? Mama Bulo is a name. I'm giving an example, right? So they will go and converge, and they will decide to gang witch on a particular home. And when such things are happening to you, that you're always spiritually fighting with your neighbors, you go and do that. Any crossroad. It can even be a crossroad where you are not even in that neighborhood, because the symbolism is the north, east, west, south, and yeah, all of those. News, it spells news. In journalism, they would teach us it spells news. So, where are we now? Do we understand how powerful soil is? Do we understand how powerful soil is? So, may you be blessed. May the Lord heal your land. You see, when God says to Abraham, when you get to the land, I will bless you, and your descendants shall be as many as the sand that you see. Again. Well, obviously, at the time, they were not meaning Africans, but it's about the teaching. Don't be too Don't be too practical. Thank you, family. I love you endlessly, and I trust that these things will help you greatly. Will help you greatly. So don't be stifled up. Don't be in a different country and you say there's stagnancy because you don't have soil from your other country. There are certain people, yes, that's one element. There's one element. There are certain people who have had children with people that they have never been to their land. So I am here, I'm South African, and I've had a child with a man from Gabon. I love Gabon today. I have a child with a man from Gabon, and the child is not settled. And I have a cousin of my former boyfriend, um, that I trust spiritually, and they're saying that this child needs to be settled because the ancestors in Gabon are looking for the child. And where do I get the James from? Because James and I are not. Maybe I should not use James because James is part of my staff member. So, so the Jeremiah who is the daddy to the child is no longer available, and he and I are no longer in good terms. But yet the child is giving me problemos. So what do I do? You find a person that you trust in Gabon to bring you the soil from Gabon to talk to the soil and bath the soil and bath the child with that soil. That you can do, provided it is an instruction from somebody who is spiritually astute enough to interrogate the authenticity of everything else that is coming from spirit. Don't just do it because Gogo says, because sometimes we do not know what region do people come from in their own country before they come and consummate with us and have kids with us. So it's very important that if a healer is instructing for it to happen, then you can do so. Find somebody that you would have spiritually vetted. How do I spiritually vet? Pray for 3 days about an issue. Let us not be lazy to go and interrogate things of the spirit. I've been talking too much. Thank you. My name is Intabisa Ngwejana. You are loved by my spirit. May you grow, may you prosper, may you be spiritually woke all the time. All of nature is made for your benefit. Think about that all the time. Thank you so much.